Constitutional Lawyer Bruce Fein. He joins us now from here in Washington, D.C. Bruce, great to have you on the program. We're learning more about this case as we get closer to Trump's court appearance tomorrow. How damning is the evidence against him?
Well, to quote his former Attorney General, William Barr, he's toast. The 37 counts to 31 counts of retaining national defense information relating to the most serious secrets concerning attacking other countries, nuclear weapons, and otherwise. And we also have, based upon the indictment that's been unsealed, actually recordings showing that Trump knew that he had unauthorized possession of national defense information and was sharing it with a writer and another friend. And he's caught on video and audio saying, you shouldn't have this, but I'm sharing it with you anyway. So this is almost an ironclad case. And remember, William Barr was Mr. Trump's Attorney General. He's a Republican. I've known him for about 30 years. And that's his evaluation. It's mine as well, when you actually read the indictment. Additionally, the evidence of obstruction also seems overwhelming. Boxes, 30, 40 boxes were removed from the storage center of Mar-a-Lago to the residence, just at the time of the subpoena was being served, and they were trying to identify all possible documents that belong to the United States. And that's why there was the valet of Mr. Trump, who actually removed the boxes, has also been indicted for obstruction of justice and for false statements when he lied about not knowing how the boxes got into the residence. So this is one of the cases where it's based upon the indictment alone, the evidence seems overwhelming.
Okay, so if the evidence is overwhelming, what can we say about the way the case will be overseen? For example, the judge overseeing Trump's case, Judge Cannon, she's a Trump appointee. Could she influence this case if she wanted to? Has she given Trump special treatment and slowed this process down at all?
Well, she could only slow it down simply because she has not only this case but other cases, so she could have the trial scheduled no later than it need be if it was expedited on her docket. But this is largely a question of finding facts. The applicable law under the Espionage Act, obstruction of justice, false statements is well settled. She really can't disturb that. And it's going to be the jury. And remember, it was a grand jury in Florida that issued the indictment in the first instance that's going to pronounce on guilt or innocence. And under the U.S. system of the Constitution, the verdict must be unanimous, one way or the other. Otherwise, it's a hung jury, and then you could have a retrial. But I don't believe that there are really legal issues that are of much import here. It's all the facts.
So you are coming from a very black and white standpoint, but the public opinion is rather muddled. How do you view the application of justice? I mean, there's so much debate about the political headhunting here, especially given that large amounts of classified documents were found in Biden's garage in Delaware, and of course, Pence had some too. Either way this case goes, given the spiteful rhetoric and disinformation, do you think the distrust in the JOD and the legal system at large is eroding? Or the trust is eroding?
Well, it may be. I don't think it will have any impact on the actual trial. The commentators that you've referenced haven't actually read the indictment. You had people speaking out, oh, it's a witch hunt. You hadn't even read what it's there. So you know that they're completely biased. The jury and juries are generally very, very scrupulous about listening to the judge. You remember there's a screening process. They have to be impartial, and they make the decisions on the facts that's introduced in the courthouse, not on speeches made on TV, made in Congress, made in think tanks or otherwise. Now, that doesn't mean that the public at large may still not accept a verdict, no matter how powerful the evidence is, because they're fixated on the politics and they don't actually believe in the Constitution anymore. In fact, Mr. Trump himself said, hey, if you're alleging fraud, you have to put the Constitution aside. So I'm not denying that there still may be much turbulence, notwithstanding the overwhelming evidence. But I don't think that turbulence is going to impact the jury verdict.
You say Trump is toast. If found guilty, what could he be facing? What's the worst case scenario?
Well, I mean, he could be sentenced with 37 counts. He could be sentenced to over 100 years in prison. That's not likely in my judgment. Oftentimes in cases like this, judge sentence concurrently. But given the severity of some of the documents, the importance, I would wager a sentence anywhere between 10 and 15 years. Remember that there have been sentences as high as 18 years that have been issued against those who participated in the January 6th storming of the Capitol. So 10 to 15 years is not out of line of what we've already seen with regard to those who already are involved in trying to obstruct the implementation of our constitutional system.
All right, certainly going to be a big day tomorrow. Bruce Fein, thanks so much for your time.